It might feel like a no man's land for a while, a state of limbo. It's a scary place. Like, what the heck is my life going to be about now? I have no idea what it's going to look like. That was a scary moment for me. When I said, all right, that's it. My human goals, my human plans, my human desires, my human life is over. I'm not going to be a rock star. I'm not going to be a movie star. I'm not going to be a millionaire. I'm not going to be this. I'm not going to have the perfect husband. I'm not going to have, although I do have a pretty good one. Actually, I think he's perfect. But I only got that after I gave up. I'm not going to have the perfect house. I'm not going to have the perfect lifestyle. I mean, go down the list. You know, all this stuff the human goals were, the human plans, the human career, all of it. I'm not going to be a big budget production director in Hollywood. That was a dream for a while. Got to do it in lucid dreams, so I felt like I got to do it anyway. Directed Tom Cruise, Gina Davis, all of them. Harrison Ford. It was fun. That's what lucid dreams are good for. It helps you do some of the human ego desires and gets them out of the way. Because your brain doesn't actually know the difference between what happens in this reality and what happens in a lucid dream or an astral projection. It's all real. All of it is. Every experience you have is real to your consciousness, real to the neural pathways in your brain. So, if you say one day, my human life is over, I give up all my plans, it's as if I die now. I am gone. Life has been lived. The life is over. I will no longer pursue any of my human goals. Now what? You're still alive. You're still here. You might even still be quite skilled for all the human goals you had. You might have gone to college. You might have had 10 years, 20 years, 30 years experience. You might have even developed your own business. However, it is not the goal anymore. Now, as eternal self, and this is why I say this is a radical invitation, this change I am talking about, living your life from the perspective of eternal being instead of from the perspective of human condition. This is no small matter. Now your goal becomes only one thing, and that is to be the freedom and the consciousness that you are, and be present fully for whatever shows up in the moment. Whatever the universe might bring your way, that's what shows up. When the human life is over, the eternal life can begin. The eternal self's life on this earth can begin. You already have eternal life. You already are eternal consciousness. You were here before the Big Bang. You'll be here after the universe collapses and dies. That's its fate. It's all going to end and fizzle out and go, the universe is gone. Every star will die. Every planet will die. Every whatever in the universe will die. The universe has a terrible end coming to it. Maybe 600 gabillion years from now. But you are here in this moment, the ever unfolding now, that is the eternal moment that you live in, that never ends. You might notice that the now never begins either. It's always here. This will help you understand the now. all these power of now teachings and all of that stuff. A lot of people don't understand that it's an eternal moment that never begins and ends. It's always here. And you are eternal being living in this eternal now. Yes, this is a radical change in how you live your life. You'll never be the same. Now, this does not mean that you won't use your human skills. If you're a good artist, that will probably come into use. If you're a musician, that'll come into use in this eternal experience, eternal being experience of a human life. If you're a great accountant and numbers make you hot, that'll probably come into use too. Someone will need your help and your services. Who you want to help their work, who does something good in the world. Your human skills, your human career development, your college education, it's not going to go to waste. But now, the purpose of it all is different. For instance, I'm not a big-time Hollywood producer like I planned on being. Got a film education and the whole thing. Worked with very famous people, worked for Disney, did the whole thing. Universal Studios, worked for commercials, did music videos, worked for Country Music Awards. I mean, there's like all kinds of stuff I did. I had potential. I was on my way. I walked away from a very successful career. But I just knew it wasn't my tribe. It wasn't my path. This is what I was supposed to be doing, but I didn't know at the time. I didn't know. All I knew was that I gave up the human plans, and then I had no idea what was next. None. But I'm really glad with how it turned out. I promise you will like how it turns out. I promise. Eternal being is not going to turn you into something you don't want to be. Your skills and your talents will be utilized. They've been given to you for a reason. Now, I'm working on independent films that teach spiritual stuff. And I make these little videos. And yeah, these aren't a professional production, but whatever. I can get them out there quick, and it's not like YouTube is, big time Hollywood production level. So I can use the skills differently. The indie films, I'm working on those at a more professional level, but so you can see how things change, how they're different. For instance, writing. I wanted to be a best-selling author like Tom Clancy or somebody. But instead, I wrote spiritual self-help books. And I wrote film scripts teaching spiritual truth through the disguise of entertainment. I was the chief editor of all the University of Metaphysical Sciences courses. Your skills get used differently when you give up your human life, give up all the plans of your human life, give up all your career goals, give up all that you want as a human, and consider the life already lived and done, and turn your life over to eternal self to live through you That's a radical change. And I promise you'll like it. It just might take a little while to develop and show you what it's going to look like. It took a while. I spent the first year of that just working on trying to get the mind to be quiet and be still. And first year was just developing a new habit. Nothing else showed up for a year. I still didn't know how I was to be used by Eternal Self, how Eternal Self would live my life. I still didn't know for at least a year, and then I still only had a clue. I mean, it was more like just one step at a time. Just, you get some directions, you do that, and then you get more directions, you do that. It's almost like a secret agent downloading directions from Spirit. This message shall self-destruct in 5 seconds, and your mission should you choose to accept it. That's what it feels like in this lifetime now. I get completed ideas just dropped into my mind. I try to keep the mind still. I do what's in front of me, because it's not like I'm ever bored and not kept busy. And then the next idea just drops in. Whoosh, finished, completed, now begin. Although I don't get messages in such a way that these are the 400 steps you need to take. I get the first one or two. And then the next ones come as you take the steps, the stones appear to step on. It's living as eternal being instead of the human conditioned self is a state of trust that as you need the next step, it will appear. It's a whole different way of living. I don't do those 5-year plans, 10-year plans, 20-year plans. Like I said, make a plan and God laughs. I don't do all that. Let's take each day as it comes. And when an idea pops in my mind, hey, there's a great idea. Wonder how I make that happen. Then you just start with the first clue. Start making phone calls. Start researching and learning about the subject, whatever it is. Eternal Self does not have a 20-year plan. Only humans do that. As a human, you just have no idea what's going to come your way. You have no idea what's available to you, really. The human mind is just a pea compared to the size of a gabongous mountain of knowledge that the Eternal Self is privy to. The human mind might not be able to grasp it all, but as Eternal Self, you have access to it all, and even though the process is unconscious, you're always led in the right directions, because the Eternal Self already planned it out. The Eternal Self knows who's going to be on that street corner at 2:20 in the afternoon on Thursday, and knows that it needs to put you there, so for some reason you get an idea that you have to go run an errand, and then you're there. Or somehow your car breaks down, and you're right there to meet that person. It's a very finely choreographed dance. This is not a haphazard thing. So don't feel like you have to plan it all out. You don't. Just follow the steps as they're revealed to you. This is how you walk through life as Eternal Self. Being awake in every moment, paying attention to what your opportunities are, making sure that you follow the hunches when you get them, making sure that you put yourself in the right places at the right times, following your intuition. The human condition makes plans. The human condition tries to force the river. The eternal self just flows with the river and observes and redirects when it sees that it's necessary, just ever so slightly, just so that you can kind of coast over to that rock and hang out with that person for a while, because you see that that's an opportunity that the powers that be have brought to you. But still, it's not like you leave the flow of the river. I hope this makes sense. It's a very different way of being. But I can promise you it's easier. Human condition is such a hard road to travel. Eternal self. It's more like eating popcorn while watching a strange movie called Your Human Life. And watching all the other strange movies called That Person's Human Life. There's some strange ones. As you know. The other thing I would advise you is to just be patient with this change. Like I said, it's going to feel like it'll feel like a no man's land for a little while. When you first give up the human life and its goals and plans and desires, when you first give up your perspective as human condition, you'll feel like you're lost at sea. And you are. Because what happens is you have to stop the momentum of all the things you set into motion as a human self and begin the momentum of what kind of life the eternal self would live in your body instead. Once you awaken to yourself as eternal being, you always were eternal being. It's not like something you've attained. It's not, enlightenment is not something you get or work for or earn. It's something you already are. This eternal consciousness that never dies. Doesn't get harmed by any experience. Just wakes up from the dream and goes, phew, glad that wasn't real. Or sometimes even says, darn, I wish that was real, if it was a good dream. But what I'm saying is be patient with the time that it takes for the momentum to slow down of all the things that you've created as human condition 1.0. And be patient while human 2.0 sets itself up. This will take some time. It's like Kali on one side destroying and creator force on the other side creating. Something is dying while another thing is being born at the same time. It's a limbo. You put the brakes on over here, but you put the gas on over here. So it might look like the car is at a standstill for a little while. Until finally the brakes let up and the gas can go. Maybe you even have to finish out some of your human condition situations before you can change and do the other things that support your your eternal self experience as a human. For instance, my friend who worked for the building the war machines, and suddenly he couldn't do this in his conscience, and continue to awaken, continue to take the red pill. I think that's the one in Matrix that wakes you up. He couldn't continue in his conscience. But he was under contract for 6 more months. And if he stopped, he would be sued and spend time in jail. I don't know what would have happened to him. Lost everything. And if he walked away, they wouldn't. Nobody else actually knew how to do what he was doing. They didn't know how to access documents. They didn't know how to do this or that. He did reach a compromise with them, and he got out of it in a month, but only because he was willing to train someone in his place. But you might have to finish out some of your human condition contracts that you set up, this momentum that you set up. If you can't quit the next day, if you're making war machines, I would. Anyway. But that's an extreme example. Maybe there's later examples, like you have kids. You have a contract with those children. If you might not have chosen to have those children, if you were more awake at the time that you had them, that doesn't mean you can abandon them now. You still have to fulfill this karmic contract that you made. Maybe you need to end certain friendships and relationships because they don't support your experience as eternal being in this life, instead of playing out a human condition pattern that isn't healthy for you. Maybe you need to end these relationships, or 1 or 2 or some of them. But maybe you have to do it gently and do it in such a way that doesn't harm that other person. So there could be a time of extricating yourself from the momentum of the life that you've created up till now and begin the momentum of something else. Be patient with that process. Just be patient with that. This doesn't have to be an immediate change. This doesn't have to be something devastating and drastic to you and other people. There might be a process to it. So allow for that. Maybe you can't just drop your life and run to a monastery right now. For instance, fortunately for me, I didn't have a lot of human condition contracts to fulfill before I could change direction in life. But one thing I sure did have was a busy mind. And that took a year to try to change the momentum of the direction of that habit that had been built up. I was taught the mind is everything. You must figure it all out. You must gather knowledge. You must know as much as possible. The mind is your saving grace. I was taught that. So are you. And I had to learn it took a while to stop the momentum of that training, that habit, and create a whole new way of seeing things and find the wisdom that's in the heart more than that's in the mind. And start trusting the wisdom of eternal being that downloads through intuition and perception on the inner planes. It's a big change, big leap, big momentum to stop and push in a different direction, the engine. So just be patient while the old dismantles and the new sets up. Just keep at it, and it'll happen. All right. Now it's time for our meditation. So just settle back. Take a deep breath. And let's look at what your life will look like and what changes are needed. This is a chance now for you to organize this in your inner vision. Take a deep breath and just let everything go. Taking a break from all your mental activity. Taking a break from your emotions. And just be in this moment fully. And let's look at what your life will be like if you are living as eternal self instead of as the struggling human. It's going to look a lot different. And what changes you have to make. Let's look at that too. Let's take a few more deep breaths. And just settle, falling into peace and being at ease. Now look at your life. What aspects of it are those of a struggling human? Looking at your addictions, looking at things you do that are unhealthy for you. Maybe it's even just emotional patterns that are unhealthy. Looking at your relationships, your friendships, your work situation. Look at what is not healthy and look at what is healthy and what supports eternal being in the flesh and what supports struggling human as a condition in the flesh. Separate these in your mind's eye now. Don't struggle mentally to find all these things. Just let them come to you as realizations. This is your first step in being eternal self. instead of the struggling human. You let it all come to you instead of going out and searching for it. Now push all the unhealthy patterns, unhealthy activities over to one side. Now push all the healthy activities and patterns that you have over to the other side. See if one is heavier than the other. See if there is a balance or an equality, or if you do more of one than the other. Are you giving more of your energy to the human condition struggles, coping mechanisms, unhealthy patterns, or are you giving more to your experience of being healthy, life affirming, eternal self? Which side has more stuff on in its corner?